This is the Wednesday, July 12th meeting of the Homeless Advisory Board, and we unfortunately do not have a quorum. So this is discussion topics today and no action items. Hopefully everybody had an agenda. I brought some extra ones, so we'll start out with roll call. I like to usually start with the folks that are online. So Melissa, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sorry, I'm eating lunch. Melissa Bethel, City of Lakeside. Did you hear me?
We did, yes,
Okay.
Thank you.
Rob, you're on mute.
Rob Taylor from Bandon, Oregon.
Thank you. And then David, do you want to start here?
David Miller, City, North Bend.
Lori Thomas.
John Chaplin, Coos Bay.
Tom Brown, Coos Bay.
Nancy Brown, Coos Bay.
Lynn Bridges, Coos Bay.
Robert Moore, Coqual Indian Housing Authority, live in Coos Bay.
Nicole Rutherford, City of Coos Bay.
Andrew Brader, Coos County.
Next on the agenda is open up for public comments. Some of you folks might be here to make some comments. Otherwise, maybe you're here to listen.
I have a question, Myers. What you all have to say.
That's the format of the City of Coos Bay.
In fact, the meeting would be better served to hear from you prior to comments.
Yeah. And it might also benefit this group to have a little bit of background too, you know. So we can definitely do that if there's, you know, once we've had some other items on the.
One small suggestion, and that is at the Coqual Indian Housing Authority board meetings, we open with public comments, but we also close with them.
Yeah, and so at the city, we open with public comments, so it's just. Topic, if you have interest. I think North Bend does a little differently and county does a little differently. And so we're kind of a coordinated effort here. So these three governments is sometimes our challenge, but hearing none, we're gonna move.
Well, you keep your volume keeps coming in and out, and that's the problem I'm having.
Yeah, and we are working on that.
Well, if I could, may I make a comment?
Absolutely.
All right. One of the things that was concerning me is that you guys have been putting out meetings for the last couple of weeks, actually the last couple of months, under the name of the Coos County Office of Strategic Planning. I have not been able to find that office located anywhere on the website. I was at the commissioner's work session yesterday. Nobody knew about this Office of Strategic Planning. And if you're going to announce yourself as a government official entity using that name, then you probably should put out some information on it, because it's very confusing for those of us who haven't been fully involved with what's been going on. And by the way, I appreciate that you guys have sent out a notice for this meeting. It's absolutely wonderful. I thank you, and I thank you for having public comment, because many of us greatly appreciate it.
Sure. So I guess normally we'd have, this is I'm so excited to have some folks at the table today. So like, to do with all these great people coming to our meetings, but normally how we would handle public comment is there's not really a lot of interaction with the council at the city, but I think it warrants kind of some filling in some gaps for some of those who may not be here being the only other board member here, I'm not sure what your feeling is on that, but. I guess, Mr. Taylor, the first thing I would ask is, where are you seeing that reference? Because
never
that
seen it.
isn't how we are referencing ourselves. So I think you might have my contact information for the city. I would be happy for you sharing where you're finding that, because it is that's misinformation, for sure.
You got it. I will absolutely do that.
Okay, thank you, because we for certain want to be accessible, and I mean, the whole part of this is coordination, so maybe to fill in those gaps, the Coos County, North Bend, and the city of Coos Bay partnered together to apply for a grant through the state of Oregon under House Bill 4123. There are known as pilots. There's 8 of us across the state of Oregon. Our goal through those pilot projects is to develop a strategic plan that addresses homeless challenges in communities that maybe is a model that can be applied in other communities. So we are all working on that. There's a funding of $1,000, boy, that'd be horrible. $1 million we get over a 2-year period from the state to develop that strategic plan, stand up our coordinated office, an individual who kind of manages that, and then start getting people at the table who provide those services here in our community. And that's Coos Bay, North Bend, and the county to start talking about what we're doing and coordinating those efforts. So this group was established through each of our governmental entities. There was 2 members appointed from each entity. Commissioner Sweet and David, I'm gonna say his last name wrong, Giles from Coos Health and Wellness are the county representatives for North Bend. It is the Mayor Engelke, and David Miller, who is the city administrator for North Bend, and then for the city of Coos Bay, Councilor Drew Farmer, and then myself, Nicole, as city assistant city manager.
Mayor Jessica.
Yeah. And then this board meets monthly. We meet on this same, time each month. And then we have a smaller kind of working group, which helps us kind of talk out things that working group then brings to the board for decisive actions. And that is essentially one of each of the members of the entity. So David and I and David sit on that working board. So one of each of the entities are sitting at the table to talk out some ideas. So.
And Mr. Farmer's online, he's not able to make it.
Great. And then it looks like Rachel from Safe Project came in. And then several months ago, Andrew was added to the mix as our coordinator of this homeless response office. So that's kind of where we're at. Over the last year, we've worked with some consultants to develop a strategic plan. We have that completed. That involved community meetings, both here locally and then also one in Coquille to kind of grab some county folks, input from all angles to kind of develop what that plan looks like. It is available probably on all 3 of our sites, but we'd happy to share if you have your emails there and you're interested, we can definitely send that out to you guys. That's kind of guiding our work moving forward. Those are the identified things that we believe as a wider community we can do, working together to hopefully make some changes in the homeless challenges we're faced. So that's where we're at.
One public comment before you leave.
Yep.
Rob, I just wanted to say to you that I've been trying to attend every meeting I can related to this whole project, going back to the very beginning. And I have never, ever even heard Coos County Office of Strategic Planning, and I've never seen it in print. So I don't know where you got that.
I got it from the videos that were released on several of the last meetings that were put out. And I know David Milliron was on one of the meetings. His wife was on one of the meetings. I know Andrew was at one of the meetings, and you can go back to your YouTube channel on the Coos County meetings website on YouTube, the webpage. And that's where the titles came from.
Okay, well, we'll definitely look at that. So I think we'll move just back to the agenda and move on, to regular topic there. So that brings us to item 3, which is to have a discussion around the grant writers, part of our,
Is that the end of public comment?
I'm sorry, no one else seemed to,
I was
Yeah.
waiting for, I didn't want to be impolite.
yeah, sure.
I have a
Sure.
little bit I'd like to say. I actually printed and read over your strategic plan. By the way, my name's John Chaplin. And I own a business here. I've been here for 30 years, Metric Motor Works on Ocean Boulevard. And in the 30 years I've been here, a lot's changed in the last 6 or 8 in livability in regards to the homeless. So I read through your strategic plan map, and I just wanted to talk about a few things in there that I think are misguided. That maybe it seemed like a good idea in the bubble that this was being discussed, but I can tell you that what I'm going to tell you isn't just my radical thinking. I believe in my heart, I speak for thousands of my neighbors in this community because my ears to the ground. And first of all, everybody knows there's a difference between the people that need a hand up and the people that need a hand out. I've heard Drew Farmer say on more than one occasion that, he got involved because, it was his friends from school and local people. And then in your strategic plan draft here, there's a paragraph that says, well, the public, there seems to be a disagreement about whether these people are indigenous or whether they came in. Well, that's something that's a matter of factual. That's easy to know whether that's fact or a disagreement. So that's sort of weird that's stated that way. The people that this community are sick of are the criminals that, and there's a lot of them. It's not like, there's, half of them are just people down on their luck. Half of them are the other type that are causing trouble. It's the troublemakers that are ruining it for everybody, or as they say, 95% of them are giving the other 5% a bad name. And Drew can say that, but our eyes tell us different. Every day we see new young males rolling in here that, they didn't go to Hillcrest, they didn't go to Madison Elementary, they came from somewhere. And I believe they came here because we make it pretty damn easy to be homeless here. And the more services we provide, which is hearts in the right place, the more of them come here. They can commit property crimes with impunity, more or less, cite and release. They can get fed. They can do whatever they do after dark. Just the citizens here are getting really fed up with it. And I feel like when I read this draft that you guys are sort of following like a model of what Multnomah County's doing. We need more money, we need more services. I don't know who's done the math about what Multnomah County's up to, but they budgeted $255 million this fiscal year for a homeless population of 5,200 is their count in Multnomah County. That's $50,000 per homeless person. I live on less than that. I earn more than that, but I live on less than that, and I'm raising a family of 3. The math doesn't add up, and I feel like that's the direction we're trying to head here, and it's wrong, in my opinion. You get 2 of those homeless people sharing a household, that's like $65,000 of wages before you pay taxes. You can buy a house and live in it. And so is that money being well spent? No. Do we want to model that? I don't think so. I believe that our goal as a community needs to be to move the troublemakers along. Nothing in this plan talks about moving them along. Now, is that going to solve the problem? Well, we're a small community. We can't afford the problem. It's going to solve our problem. And if somebody else, if we're just kicking the can down the road to the next community, I'm okay with that. Some people have to make a stand. And sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So the question is, how do you do that? I don't have any really good answers. I know that, we have the Constitution, people have rights. And which is okay, and we destigmatized being homeless in the last 10 years. There's no stigma anymore, it's a culture. Those people have a culture, those people hanging out down by Fred Meyer, they're living in a homeless culture of drugs and alcohol and criminality and layabout. And we're sick of it here.
Yeah, I
We-
agree.
We don't,
You're enabling, you're
and there's
not.
something that can be done. Somebody's pushing a shopping cart down the street, dump their crap out, take it back to the store. Make it difficult to live here, but giving more money to the Devereaux Center to provide more services, to give these people a place to sleep. Another big problem I have is not an answer. Another big problem I have in here is we talk about the lack of affordable housing. There is no housing that you can make affordable enough that these people are gonna move into it. If it was free, they wouldn't live in it. And if they did, they'd just be there long enough to destroy it. That is not the problem. Of course, affordable housing is a problem in this community. But it's a problem for the working people.
class.
Right.
It's not gonna help the homeless situation one iota to make it more affordable here. That's not their issue. How do you run them out of here? There's things you can do. You just be less friendly. Less services is the answer. Spend less money, not more. Figure out who really needs help. I was talking yesterday about this. I own a few bare properties in this town. I was talking to, I don't get out on the street and see these people. I don't know their stories, but I know somebody who is at ground zero with them and knows a lot. So I'm talking about this yesterday with Matt Wilbanks. And he knows what's going on out there at the ground level. And I said, I wouldn't mind letting some of these people who really just need a hand up that are working and trying to get out of their motorhome or get their place into someplace legal to live. Camp on some of my properties, other than the fact that you could never make them leave. My wife says we can't do that because you'll never get rid of them.
We have 2 on our property.
And
No drugs.
Matt's comment to me was,
Yeah.
Well-
Rules.
I haven't seen anybody fits that description in about 2 years. So that tells me that the vast majority of our homeless population are the troublemakers, not the people that need help.
Mhm.
And the more we tolerate it, the worse it's gonna get. The more we're gonna come, it's gonna perpetuate. Yeah, let's spend more taxpayer money. Get more of them here.
And
I believe that where life is easier, they will stay. If life is more difficult, they'll go someplace easier. And you don't have to throw them out. You just make it difficult for them to exist here and live that lifestyle in our community. We're not having it anymore. It's pretty soon somebody's gonna get killed.
Mhm.
Somebody, either a citizen or a homeless person from out of town, it's gonna get ugly. It's getting there. It's at a boiling point in this community.
It's always been that way. Just people-
It's getting worse. It's getting
It's not getting
worse. I mean, 10 years ago, we had
Cops here.
10 years ago, we had Teresa Mobile Hill. Anybody miss her? She's all we had. I mean. Some homeless people,
Yeah.
but they weren't,
I lived back.
They- they didn't get chesty with you while they're digging through your garbage when you
Oh,
told them
no.
to beat it like they do now. These young males.
Still criminals.
Yeah, I mean,
They wanted to be homeless.
so. In that regard, I think that this plan has some serious
Lots.
shortfallings.
Well, they're not really homeless, they're drug addicts, is the problem.
No, they're homeless. There's no question about that. They do not have a home. They're living outdoors. But they don't want help. The majority of them.
And you,
And I don't want to spend my tax dollars helping them anymore. More money is not the answer. We're not Multnomah County and we don't want to be.
I appreciate you, coming here and feeling comfortable to share during the public comments. So obviously we want, everybody to have the opportunity to talk if,
Yeah, okay.
but we also have some tasks ahead of us too. So be mindful of.
I left work to come here.
Yeah,
And so I was hoping you weren't gonna try and limit my time. And you didn't, so I appreciate that. Like, sir, 3 minutes. And it's like, hey, I'm off work to come here.
yeah,
Yeah, no, for sure. And there is there's a nice balance between that, because business has to occur and then obviously, public needs to be able to participate in the process. So finding that balance is really sometimes challenging, but we appreciate
Well, that's
having some
clearly.
folks at the table, which we've, had limited so far, so. Unless anybody else, I don't want to cut anybody else off, has any other comments?
I just want to say something real quick. I agree. My name is Nancy Brown. I'm from Coos Bay. I want to agree with a lot of the stuff that he did say. I don't know how we'll get to that point, but I'm with him on like cutting their stuff off. Then they have to move on. Then we'll have the few that really will get to the point that they've hit rock bottom. Trust me and my husband hit rock bottom about 17, 18 years ago, and we pulled our heads out. We got together, we worked with our probation officers and stuff, and we got clean and sober. We have been for all these years. We turned our whole life around. We cleaned all our property. We were as bad as some of these bums out there that what our property looked like. Looked as bad as some of this stuff, and it's embarrassing to me now to
You
say
can
it.
throw money at them all day long and it's not gonna help nothing.
But a little bit of God came into our life and it changed us around, and we cleaned everything up. You never even know that we're the same people that live there now, that lived there 20 years ago, but we are, that's how much
And
we've
it's just
changed.
as bad back then as it is now.
One more quick comment. Homelessness has become big business. It's a big industry.
That's what.
I'm sure Andrews gets a salary and his, he got a job because of homelessness. I tried to see what your salary was, but it's not up to date, but I'm sure, you're a paid position, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
So,
That's not new. I got paid for 25 years in this community
mhm.
to work on the homelessness issue. I'd be happy to sit down and talk with you
No,
sometime
I'm just saying. it's an
about
industry.
all of the things that you brought up. You and me should have a conversation
Yeah, me
about
too.
this. We'll get
Yeah.
together.
And again, I don't want to squash conversation, because that's what this is all about, is coordinating. But
We don't want to turn
This-
this into a Portland.
well, and this can also grow bigger than what we have space and time for here
It's
today.
just an industry we can't afford.
So,
That's all I
Chairman,
want to say.
Yes.
the farmer has a question.
thank you. Drew?
No, I think I'll save us some time. We'll have time another day.
Okay. We've got some new additions here, so I guess if there's any other folks who maybe had comments.
No, it's like city project, also mentioned stuff at all.
Okay, so we'll move along to item number 3, which is a discussion on our grant writers. As we talked earlier, just to update everybody, this pilot project is funded for 2 years. We signed a IGA that the governments would cover the full 5-year span. So we have to come up with 3 years. And so this funding and whatever we put in place that's from the strategic plan. So we put a request out to some grant writers that were uncovered through the strategic plan process, and we've been talking about those from their submissions. Our last discussion led us to needing to have an update on what their other services. We might have a
reached out and possibilities on the couch. Chris emailed to myself, which I forwarded on to the board as well. In standard rates. Especially in this county.
and of the ones we received, that's the only one who's responded yet with rates.
My understanding was just
Just him.
contact.
Okay, thank you, Drew. We're aware. We have a request into the county for some equipment to resolve the sound issue. So it is important if we are speaking, we do need to speak in an elevated voice. So Okay, so I don't know that we have anything else to. We need 4. I don't know that three of us from the same entity count as a quorum there, so, yeah. So, we'll keep that in discussion mode for the next meeting. So that brings us to item number 4, which is survey of our stakeholders. We sent out, so I guess trying to give you some background on the stakeholders. We had our community meetings here in this area and then also in Coquille. And from that, we had individuals from faith-based community. We had folks who are providing services, healthcare professionals, government, tribal government, veterans groups. We just had a number of people, businesses, 60 folks at the one that was here in North Bend. So because it's large, we broke those up into kind of stakeholder focus groups, for lack of a better word. And now we put out a request for the kinds of needs that they may have. There is a potential for some additional funding from the state that's come down from the governor's office, which we can put in a request for. So the survey was sent out to the stakeholders, which is essentially in this group, the service providers. Hello, Commissioner Sweet. Now we have a quorum. I don't know, do we want to back up to the grant? Are there any extra agendas? Oh, yes, right here. Just for those online, Commissioner Sweet is joining us. So we were on item 4 because item 3 may have provided for an action, but we didn't have a quorum at the time. So I'm not sure if you've been keeping up with the discussions on the grant writer. We had narrowed that down out of 5%.
A half dozen responded to our request. The request came, the individuals on the request were referred to us by Rob, which is the regional organization. And so we reached out to those grant writers. We vetted the grant writers at the executive meeting. We then asked them for pricing in order to move forward with some grant writing resources so that we can start seeking grants towards implementing the strategic plan. The individual that was the preferred engagement would have been Michael Couch. So I'll go ahead and move that we move forward with an engagement on Michael Couch. He'll require a second, and then ultimately it would be an engagement that then goes to the county as a fiscal agent.
Is there a second? All right, any other discussion?
Doing an update, what the financials are on that.
So financially, when he moved to me, the standard rate would be $100 an hour. And so expense and some advisors, I think we can stay just because I'm thinking about my clients from organizations and communities who are traditionally used to pricing reflects my desire to be more accessible to less resources at the time. Some great organizations that get supported in during this time is AYA, still lagging in county. So it's advisor to CATEC establishment in CCD business recruitment for grant writing and technical assistance services. Talking individuals.
Have any other questions or comments?
Drew, you still have your hand up, sir. I don't know if you have a question or did you just.
I apologize, counselor.
All right.
Looked like you got a hand up.
Yeah, it did. It was very well placed.
Exactly like they can.
Yeah.
Like,
All right, with no further discussion, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Aye.
There's a, opposed,
Any,
or an aye.
Need a response.
neither of them
Counselor
came
Bowman,
online.
Counselor Pilmer.
You need one more.
Well, they could be opposed. All those opposed?
Kerwin, you're on mute. Stephanie, you're on mute.
I'm not opposed.
So motion passed. Did a survey of our stakeholders, just kind of give a brief. Any responses?
So just a little bit, responses so far. Received information, data back, response to overseas. The bottom stations.
Yeah. Stated it is a data gathering kind of survey, as well as compile requests for any of the folks who are putting in for that. So that's into balance of state, which is kind of a nice segue into that. We have one and the same, I'm sure. It's different, but we have a couple of projects we were looking at. This balance of state funding is from the governor, $2.1 million. Balance of state is essentially everybody who's in the rural continuum of care, which is basically the non-urban areas of the state. There are 26 counties within the box. 26 counties is not a lot, but the bucket is intended to cover costs that could be operational. It could also be projects or capital things. So, request has been extended from a due date of the 14th to the due date of the 21st. So that's the stakeholders to get this information, which we will then logical way to leave our request and submit by the 21st. So if there's any questions of any of the board.
So when asked practically for the request. So like a data. Data. Looking efforts at the state level, balance the state actually do get a specific amount of funding as Paul mentioned. And then that was then sort of pared down based on data from each of the 26 county we are pilots. And so Paul said that we are created by action of the state legislature as outlook. To have a plan, a strategic plans from the state. And so the balance of state awarded us roughly about 7+% of that 6 million. That is the purpose. So that stuff is about 1.9 million. Not actually a lot. We actually love that. Those requests, best plan, and the advisory that is the housing side, which can be used for facilities. Again, at the end of the day, kind of movies that's going to make a big impact. In free services, other services. The end of the day, the planning, funding, that's actually like that. The very small thing, how they were actually go out.
Thank you. Any other?
Is getting continuing care. State something. It's getting.
These are emergency. State best will field the applications. With Pennsylvania, we could go directly to organization. Seeing this is being set up, the governments with the legislature.
Stand up. Got it. Just because it's additional.
Do you have some video about
So.
Informations. Okay, so to item number 6, which is something I was kind of gonna bring forward to the board as a support options. The public side of this work that we're doing, which is intentional to make sure that our community is aware of what's going on, takes and posting on websites and getting agendas ready and things like that, that we hopefully have happening in government. We don't have capacity in this small setup. So I did a little bit of reach out, for example, to the consultant who does some website work for the city, if they had help in that regard, so we can kind of beef up our information that we have for this pilot, either on the council website or setting up sites. And then I would offer, we do have capacity, maybe Coos Bay to kind of Coos Bay taxpayer dollars that pay for it. So the opportunity that I interests. Yeah. We've talked a little bit about something. Game.
Well, just going back, I talked about what's happening. So we have community resource. People discuss some of the businesses. So the other agencies, and what I said on that discussion is the difference is we need research to what resources. So that would be best. So monthly, discussion. Representations of city officials. The biggest topics that was discussed was the transition. So some of the things are also BBCs that participated. So said, you know, to have hearing. See. Continually do the most recently access information. It's say if you have been in which you know showed you yeah, so they have those services because you know so so the questions are that and we're continuing to update with you on Facebook. That is
Start with this. You are muted.
I think somebody's trying to talk to me, but I can't really make out other than a bit here and a bit there. What are we doing?
If you had any comments.
Oh, no, I haven't been able to make out much, unfortunately.
The audio is terrible.
Working on it.
Sure is good from your end.
If I weren't worried about giving you all the plague, I would have been down there, but
We appreciate you thinking of us first.
Stay where you are.
Commissioner Sweet?
The board met yesterday on our plan.
Commissioner Sweet, do you mind coming in a little bit closer to the microphone?
Okay,
Sorry about that. Thank you.
We met yesterday on our version of what the cities have been doing in terms of where to direct homeless camping. And I think we, according to our attorney, followed along with what North Bend came up with. And basically, as I understood it, I haven't read it in great detail. Camping would not be legal homeless camping would not be legal in the county, other than in areas that we have designated. And I thought our county council came up with a really good idea. He got out the map of the county and drew a circle with in a 2-mile radius of each of the municipalities in the county, thinking that convenience and access has to be a part of this. And we had ideas of somewhere south of Powers and than east of Dora. As the right places, but,
It's called NIMBY.
so we've identified the areas, and although our road department doesn't know it quite yet, they're going to be charged along with our land agent in looking within those areas that are contiguous to the communities for appropriate sites. So we don't have just one site or two sites in the county. There'll be a site near, well, hopefully near each concentration of population. So that's a step forward.
We've got several drug houses, so it'd be a bad
areas are going to be.
One more time.
Got enough drugs.
Pardon me?
We've got several drug houses out where I live with a lot of problems of garbage being dumped and, you know, so I hope you're not gonna send them out that way.
I don't know where that way is.
That's
but
out of Red Dyke Road.
It's right in that.
It has to be somewhere. And
Yeah.
And the idea is that if we have certain areas, then we can have some control over what happens. You know, right now
Well, we don't have no control. Well, yeah, maybe.
And what-
we can't have any control because it's all over the friggin' county.
Control and accountability.
Yeah, and so in the plans in the formation, that's the latest thought, and we'll work through that. And if it comes out that we can do it, good. If we can't, we'll figure something else out.
And
And
then-
there's gonna be people that protest no matter where we are, and people support. Belongs to someone else's place.
Exactly. Exactly.
Correct.
Oh, it's very specific about places that won't be. It won't be within X feet of schools, parks, or all kinds of things. So it'll be in spots that are hopefully not bothersome to anyone or for a few. And I don't know if that's possible.
It's not.
But it might be less
You know, the-
offensive in some places than it could be.
And it's quite a health issue too, because we've helped several times with this park cleanup. Needles, the garbage is unbelievable. The wet sleeping bags and brand new sleeping bags just left there, you know, soaking wet. You know, isn't there some kind of recycle way we can do that? We need.
I'm fully
we need-
aware. I stop and pick up garbage throughout the county for us. So don't waste your breath telling me what it's like. I know
Well,
it's
we need a
horrible.
Solution to it.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
we're working on,
Yeah.
and no one really has a good idea yet. And it's not
Well,
just
teach them how to
us,
pick up their
it's the whole
garbage.
friggin' county. We don't have a good idea.
Really simple.
And then, I think you were maybe gonna ask, how do you know about this? All of our entities have ways that we push our information out. If you have an email on there, we are happy to take that. We can add you to the Friday update. We'll give you comments about when, for Coos Bay at least. When our meetings are, you're able to then go look at, see what's on those agendas, and it's very similar for both of these folks. So there are ways you can be made aware of what's happening in your government. And if you want to, that's where you put it, is your email address on that list there, so we can connect you guys.
And I have one other comment.
Yeah.
At first, I have an apology. We're in transition at the county and been a little overwhelmed of late but I'm hopeful I can be more attentive to this issue going forward. I can't guarantee that quite. But and maybe you've already, I'm apologizing, I don't know what all's been said and suggested here, but I was reading the other day somewhere, I think in the Wall Street Journal, about what happens in some city. And it's not helping people that are already homeless. It's helping people avoid homelessness. And what it was simply having a pool of money from which someone that was in dire need or dire straits of losing ownership of their home would get a monthly payment or two. And they had to be screened. It wasn't just a donation. You had to have a plan. If I can get through this month or two, then what am I going to do to get myself on my feet and back to work? And I thought that was a really proactive idea. I've always been, my mind has gone to, how do you help that guy that's there on the street, but how do you help keep someone from being
That
there?
makes more sense, yeah.
I mean, if you talk to the businesses and stuff, maybe
There's jobs.
somebody could hook them up with a job,
So,
you know, instead of just giving them money.
But
You know,
it's
give
a
'em a
section
Well,
job.
these people have jobs.
Right.
or they have to have a plan to make it work, because it's not just, because
Yeah,
that's not sustainable.
oh, I
So
know.
this was a good idea, I thought.
Yeah.
And I find that there are pools of money available in this community for just that.
This is true, and I can confirm for you that those are pools of money that exist at Orca. Also Gloria to Lutheran Church, United Methodist Church, there's a church in Lakeside. All provide funds to people in that position from time to time. Or if they need to get back to somewhere they could get a job, the Devereaux Center is able to provide that funding for the folks to travel out of the community to go where a job is. When I worked in mental health, my function was as a job developer for the mentally ill, severe and persistent mental illness. And I had no shortage. We had 60 people at any given time who wanted to get work. Frequently were individuals on the street or in supported housing. And the problem I ran into with certain businesses was you would go there, tell them what you do, employer tell me, well, those people just need to get jobs, which, okay, I got 60 people want jobs. I tell them, hey, what job do you have for this person? And the response I get is, well, I don't want to hire those people. So it becomes a challenge to the community as well. If you say you want that person to get a job, people got to live up to it. So that's my contribution for the moment.
Counselor Kilmer, I didn't mean to pass by you, if you had any comments.
Sorry about that. Couldn't get my button to work there. I don't really have anything to add. I came in late, and the audio after that point was inaudible. You couldn't hear anything except maybe somebody that was right by the microphone. So I'm hoping that we can get that repaired in the future. And I appreciate that the public has an opportunity to comment. These are open meetings. But I do know that other folks are also volunteering to be on this committee, and we do have to take care of the business at hand. And so I think there needs to be a look into the structure of how these meetings are formatted.
Yeah, see something?
enhanced.
Business people.
You. Again, I thank you guys for attending, sharing this group. Again, we'll just remind everybody we meet again today. And if we continue to have this, we're going to work with the college and get access to the meeting room. Additional people. I don't know what that means for this kind of stuff. We're not even connected here yet, so we can move into that space, but we definitely want to make space if there's. So again, thank you for attending.